Hello everyone, Joel here. After taking a break from the new games of 2026 discussion, I think it's a good time for us to continue the series. Since we have only once talking about new RPGs of 2026 as a whole, this time we will delve into another fantastic new RPGs from this year that deserve your attention. Some of you might disagree with my list, but that's okay because at the end of the day, we all have our own opinion. Before we continue the video, I want to inform you that right now, there are tons of crazy deals in instant gaming, especially if you love RPG games. Remember how expensive modern gaming lately? Well, not anymore, since you can get so many amazing titles with crazy discounts in instant gaming. Can you believe that just with $10 or even less than $5, you can enjoy one of the best gaming experiences in your life? Just look at these titles. It used to cost like $30 or even more than $40. And to make things even crazier, some games even drop so far to just $1. If you're a smart guy, you know what you have to do. All you have to do is just click my link in the description below, start searching for your favorite games, and use the activation code on your chosen platform. By using my link, you're not only saving tons of money, but also helping me to support this channel. Alright then, let's get back into the list. Bladesong builds its identity around crafting, yet it never treats it as a side system, because every weapon you forge directly shapes the direction of its story. Set within Eren Keep, the game connects political tension, character relationships, and survival through the act of creation, so progression feels tied to decision-making rather than combat alone. As requests grow more complex, the crafting system demands precision while also pushing narrative consequences forward. At the same time, companions and factions react in subtle but meaningful ways, which keeps the experience dynamic. Although combat remains limited, the overall design stays focused, delivering a deliberate and cohesive RPG experience. Kotama and Academy Citadel leans heavily on its combat and mechanical depth, and while its story struggles to stay focused, the overall experience finds its strength through gameplay consistency. Set within a sci-fi academy, driven by competition, progression ties exploration, combat mastery, and system management into a steady loop that gradually becomes more rewarding. As encounters grow tougher, mechanics like fluid detonation and currency-based healing create constant decision-making during fights, keeping tension present without breaking pacing. At the same time, weapon variety and upgrade paths encourage experimentation, which helps maintain engagement. Even if its narrative lacks clarity, the gameplay foundation remains strong enough to carry the experience forward. Volunteer the Ascension presents a large and interconnected world that encourages exploration, yet it occasionally struggles to guide players with enough clarity. As progression unfolds, systems like sigil keys, map expansion, and companion bonds gradually open new paths, which keeps discovery engaging even when direction feels loose. At the same time, movement abilities and environmental design support a steady gameplay rhythm, allowing players to experiment with traversal and combat approaches. However, performance issues and uneven combat balance can interrupt that flow, especially during more demanding encounters. Despite these setbacks, its visual design, character interactions, and sense of scale still make it a promising RPG worth watching. Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection brings together the full arc of Geostellar's journey while refining the experience with modern improvements that make it easier to revisit. Although its dialogue reflects its original younger audience, the overarching story still carries a consistent theme about connection and personal growth. As each entry builds on its combat system, the blend of real-time movement and card-based strategy becomes more engaging, especially with the expanded customization options. At the same time, quality of life updates and restored content give the collection a stronger sense of completeness, making it feel both preserved and meaningfully updated for a new audience. Dragonkin the Banished delivers a familiar action RPG structure, yet it finds its footing through strong combat and a steady sense of progression that keeps the experience engaging. While the narrative introduces a dense world filled with lore and political tension, it often struggles to maintain clarity, leaving the player more connected to the action than the story itself. As exploration opens across large environments, customization systems like the Ancestral Grid and city upgrades provide meaningful growth, even if some mechanics feel underexplained. At the same time, satisfying combat and well-designed boss encounters carry the experience, resulting in a solid, if not groundbreaking, RPG overall.
Catching my breath.
Heroes of Science and Fiction delivers a familiar turn-based structure that leans heavily on proven genre foundations, yet its sci-fi setting gives it enough identity to feel distinct. As campaigns unfold, the game balances faction variety, resource management, and tactical combat in a way that remains consistently engaging, even when innovation takes a backseat. At the same time, its large amount of content and flexible modes encourage long-term play, especially for those who enjoy gradual progression. However, pacing issues and mechanical imbalance occasionally disrupt the flow, preventing it from reaching its full potential despite its otherwise solid design. Homura Hime stands out by committing fully to its combat-driven design while still giving enough narrative weight to keep the journey engaging. As battles unfold, the game constantly pushes you to react, adapt, and combine abilities, creating a fast but controlled rhythm that rarely loses momentum. At the same time, enemy mechanics and layered systems encourage active decision-making instead of simple execution, which keeps encounters feeling fresh across its runtime. Although the parry system can feel overly forgiving and minor technical issues appear, the overall experience remains cohesive, delivering a focused and consistently rewarding action RPG. Esoteric Ebb builds its identity around dialogue, choice, and tone, delivering an experience that feels immediately familiar yet consistently unpredictable. Set within a dense, politically charged city, the game connects character development with conversation-driven systems, allowing progression to emerge naturally through decisions rather than traditional combat. As interactions expand, humor and philosophical themes intertwine, giving each exchange a sense of purpose while maintaining a light but thoughtful tone. At the same time, its flexible role-playing systems encourage experimentation across multiple playthroughs. Even with clear inspirations, it stands confidently on its own through strong writing and cohesive design. Solasta II approaches the familiar Dungeons & Dragons formula from a more focused and system-driven angle, setting itself apart through structure rather than scale. Instead of centering the experience on a single protagonist, the game builds its identity around managing a full party from the start, which naturally shifts the emphasis toward tactical synergy and group dynamics. As exploration expands across its hex-based world map, progression feels closer to a tabletop campaign, where discovery and planning move together. While its narrative depth may not reach the level of Baldur's Gate 3, its clarity in combat systems and deliberate pacing create a distinct and thoughtfully designed RPG experience. Everwind builds its appeal around exploration, and it succeeds by making movement itself feel purposeful through its flying ship system. Rather than treating travel as a gap between activities, the game turns your ship into a constant hub, which keeps progression stable even as you venture into unpredictable islands. As a result, discovery feels rewarding instead of risky, since your resources and tools are always within reach. At the same time, progression tied to finding recipes encourages steady exploration without forcing rigid direction. While still early in development, its balance between guidance and freedom already creates a compelling and hard to step away from experience. Mewgenics thrives on unpredictability, building its entire loop around systems that constantly shift and refuse to settle into a single strategy. Each run feels distinct because your team is shaped by randomized traits, abilities, and outcomes, forcing you to adapt rather than plan perfectly. At the same time, its breeding system ties long-term progression to experimentation, creating a cycle where failure feeds directly into future success. While some interface limitations and heavy randomness can be frustrating, the sheer variety of interactions and emergent combinations keeps the experience engaging, making it a deeply replayable RPG that rarely feels exhausted. Banquet for Fools is a bold throwback to classic RPG design, echoing titles like The Elder Scrolls III and Pillars of Eternity. Its striking claymation-inspired visuals and pagan setting create a unique atmosphere, while its system's heavy gameplay demands patience and attention. With no quest markers and minimal guidance, exploration feels rewarding but punishing. Combat blends real-time chaos with tactical control, though clunky AI and difficulty spikes can frustrate. It's not for everyone, but for fans of uncompromising old-school RPGs, it delivers a rare, deeply immersive experience that stands out in today's genre. Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster returns with a modern presentation while staying faithful to its Final Fantasy roots, and that balance defines the experience. The Brave and Default system reshapes turn-based combat by letting you control tempo and risk, while the flexible job system encourages constant experimentation as new roles unlock through story progress. At the same time, the narrative offers steady momentum with occasional darker turns, although its structure later becomes repetitive and slows engagement. Even so, the improved visuals and quality of life tweaks make this version the most approachable way to experience a mechanically rich and demanding RPG. Monster Hunter Stories 3 builds its appeal through a steady sense of progression that keeps pulling you forward. At first, the story introduces a political conflict shaped by an environmental crisis, and as it unfolds, it gives enough space for its characters to feel grounded without slowing the pace. Meanwhile, combat develops into a layered system where positioning, stamina, and monster knowledge matter, encouraging careful decisions in longer encounters. In addition, the Monster system and habitat restoration tie exploration directly into progression, creating a loop that feels rewarding over time. Although the pacing stumbles with late grinding and uneven tutorials, the overall experience remains engaging and consistently satisfying.
Counting on you.
Crimson Desert presents a dense open-world RPG that commits fully to player freedom, while consistently tying exploration, combat, and progression into a single evolving system. As you move through Pywell, the world reveals layered activities, from faction conflicts to resource management, and these systems gradually interlock rather than overwhelm. Meanwhile, combat demands attention, since mastering timing and combos directly affect survival in large-scale encounters. However, the complexity can create friction, especially with controls and inventory limits which interrupt the flow. Even so, the sense of agency remains strong, and although the story feels uneven, the world itself sustains long-term engagement. Alright boys, I think that's it for today. I know that there are other games that I haven't mentioned yet, so how about sharing your favorites that probably deserve the spot in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and make sure to subscribe the channel if you don't want to miss another great list. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Peace!